Howdy fellas. On today's episode of If It Doesn't Exist, Just Build Yourself, we're gonna build a guitar with 30 frets. Well, technically a few of these do exist, but it's not like you can just walk up to your favorite local music store and be like, "Good morning, sir. Please show me your variety of 30 fret guitars. Oh, can I take a look at the 7-string models you have available?" Yeah, because this one is a 7-string with 30 frets and a tremolo. Now, what do you need 30 frets for? Answer is easy, because more is more. So, what you're seeing here right now is a ash body, which had a little crack in it, so I had to fill that with epoxy. The neck is a 3-piece made of Morado and maple. Made a slot for the truss rod. Now it's going, and you can see the basic shape of the neck, and sometimes you break an end mill, so I had to get a replacement. Yeah, it happens. It sucks, but it happens. It's part of the process. So I tried to see if the truss rod fits in, and it didn't, because the CNC machine is one my dad built, so has some imperfections. But I just routed it again and it was good to go. Also finished the rest of the top side of the neck. Yeah, and I marked the angle of the headstock here. So, for the body, I went for a 2-piece body. The ash, you saw me working there at the beginning. And a piece of, well, in the beginning I wanted to go for Ziricoti, but I ended up choosing something different. It's sort of like a glued on top, which resembles a Viking longship, because the name of this guitar is Ormurin Langi, which translates to long serpent, and it was the flagship of King Olaf Tryggvason of Norway, and it's said to be the longest longship to ever have been built, like 45 meters long. If you're ever in Denmark and visit Langi, the museum that is, they have a replica of a longship, and that's like 21 meters long, so imagine that, but double and then some. So, some cleaning up of the body, the flush trim bit. Won't have to do that on the next project, because now I have an end mill that's long enough to route the whole depth of the body in one go. Some cleaning up, because the machine just leaves some imperfections, like corners that are too small to reach, and some tolerance things right here on the carving on the left side of the guitar, like the places where the bit can reach because it's too small. So bottom side of the neck now, just a lot of material being taken away with the big router bit. People always tell me these time lapses are so satisfying to watch, and I agree, it's so nice, but it takes a long time to do this. Yeah, I went for an angled headstock just because from an engineering perspective it's the better alternative. Cutting off some tabs with the table saw. Drilling the holes because they weren't big enough. Working on the headstock. This is the fretboard. This is made of amaranth, which was a bit of a bold choice because when you leave it to sort of oxidize, I guess, it kind of turns red, like you can see here on the outer sides. and it kinda clashes with the color of the rest of the wood. And originally I wanted to paint the sides of the body blue, like the wings, so to speak. But I ended up not doing that because it would have clashed with the color of the amaranth. Yeah, nice inlays made of epoxy here. And this spells out the name of the guitar. Sanding the headstock, because I also did that with epoxy. And a 45-degree chamfer bit, so you can get the very intricate thin lines of the headstock logo I went for. Yeah, radiusing the fretboard, gluing in the truss rod. Yeah, in the meantime I also glued the the headstock veneer on. Well, it's not really a veneer, it's like 2 millimeters thick, but it works the same as a veneer. Yeah, preparing to glue on the fretboard. I'm super happy with the neck overall, although like a few things went wrong, but it was very beautiful in the end. So for machining the top part, can you spot what I did wrong here? Take a look, take a look. Yeah, it shifted because I didn't press it down hard enough and I bumped into a screw. But I was able to sort of salvage, well, not salvage the piece, but make a workable piece in the end. And this isn't actually Ziricoti, like the headstock veneer was Ziricoti, but this is Wenge. And that happened because I went to my local wood supplier to buy wood for a different project, and I saw this piece which was like 15 millimeters thick, so I was like, yo, can I buy that one? That's exactly what I need, because the Ziricoti I have was like 34 millimeters thick, and I needed a bandsaw to cut it, and I couldn't find one, and the one my dad and I built wasn't ready yet, so I just made it out of Wenge. And yeah, it's not very pleasant to work with because it splinters, really stabs your fingers, but it looked pretty good in the end. Yeah, and this is where you can see the ship design coming into play. It sorta looks like planks overlapping. That's why I made the first part at an angle and the second part lying down. And here I'm painting the runes on and the carvings on the bottom. This one spells Olaf Tryggvason, but in Old Futhark, which actually wasn't contemporary to the Viking times. They used Younger Futhark, and this set of runes was used in Germanic, like Proto-Germanic, and not actually in Old Norse. So yeah, more painting, bit of sanding, because obviously you can't just paint it perfectly unless you get a very steady hand, which I don't have. Yeah, I painted the cavity for the trim black, hole for the jack, cleaning it up a little because the two pieces didn't perfectly fit together, so I wanted to make that a bit nicer. Working on the frets. First cutting them to length, then marking where the tang should come off because the slot doesn't go all the way through, so I don't have to use like binding or anything. Perks of having a CNC machine. Hammering them in, sanding them down. I leveled them but didn't film that. And yeah, some crowning. If you've watched any number of guitar building videos, you've seen that a million times. And if you haven't, crowning is for making the shape of the fret nice. Yeah, finishing steps, mounting the pickup, mounting the tram screws, which wouldn't go in because the hole was too small, so I helped it a bit more, and then it would go in. Yeah, it's gluing in the magnets for the battery compartment, because I was like, hey, if you're gonna change the battery every now and then, you don't want to have screws on that. Yeah, just some wiring. For this pickup, I built toggle switches for the high frequency tilt and for the voice 1 gain, because the Fisherman Fluence Modern that I installed on this guitar has those features. So I made switches to accommodate that. Hunting the tuners, I went with shallow tuners because they were the only ones that were available in a 7-string set. But then we encountered a problem, because you see the scale length of this guitar is 26.5 inches, which is like 672 millimeters. But as you can see here, the distance to the bridge is more like 680. So it's too much difference to compensate it with moving the saddles. So I had two options. Either I built a new body, or I reroute the neck cavity to move it in a little bit, like 8 millimeters inwards, so my scale length is correct and my intonation is correct. So I made a jig for that, tried routing it, and it didn't work. So the attempt to save the first body was botched, so I built another one. This time out of silver maple that I got locally from a storm damage. You can see that this has a big crack, but I'm just gonna fill that with epoxy. And most of the crack you're not gonna see anyway. And this time I went for new methods of getting better tolerances on my cavities. That's what you see here. Like first I made a rough cut, and then I used some offset to get the distances correct. And it turned out very good. Yeah, also a real-time close-up shot of making the top part, the intricate carving. So pretty much like the first body I made. Same methods for the most part. Used a round end mill to make these parts, because they vary in height. Yeah, also had to make another one of these, and for that I changed the model like completely. I optimized it quite a lot. And this time it went swimmingly. And you might see later on, I also changed the runes on the top part of this piece to be in younger Futhark, because in the meantime I found the channel of Dr. Jackson Crawford, who does a great job at explaining how younger Futhark works. So I used that for the new body. Yeah, and here on the bottom you can see really, like when it's oiled, you can see the really nice texture and 3D grain. Yeah, lots of wiring again. Like I kept some of it together, but had to connect all of it again. Connected the pickup again. And here you can see that the runes are different from the first body. Now, unfortunately, the brand new pickup I got doesn't work, and I'd love to demo it, but I have to wait for the replacement. I'm on vacation for 3 weeks now, but I'm gonna record a song with a new pickup when it arrives, so stay tuned for that. And subscribe to see it. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.